Um, this is going to be 15 minutes of me gushing at both of you because this show, my God, this show, I was 5 minutes into the first episode when I watched the screeners, and I messaged my editor and I was like, "You ever watch a show that you really feel was created just for you? This is what I sort of didn't want it to get released to the general public because it felt like mine." I was like, the
Well,
costumes, the actors, everything. Yeah.
Joey, this is why we wanted to do this interview. We did, in fact, make it for you.
Thank you. Love the
We didn't
confirmation.
know we were, but we probably were because we were a little bit like, this is our happy place. There's got to be someone else out there who just like needs just this thing right now in the
Yeah.
world. And, I feel like everybody loves it for different reasons when they do love it, when it's there, I have friends who love it because this is they've been waiting to see all as a group, or as you said, the
Mhm.
costumes and the production design. But I think for Jayme and I, we've certainly I have as an actor over the years tried to refine my taste level and search and longing, and Jayme has adopted the same point of view as producers for subversive storytelling.
Yeah.
And what you hope for one day is you're not even making something about something. It
Mhm.
just is all there embedded in the storytelling. And,
Yeah.
just setting a story in Palm Beach, Florida in 1969 um, gives you a world of possibility. And that's been so much fun. And, to have Tate Taylor in his vision and Abe, in his developing this show from this amazing book we all found, and then Tate bringing Abe to the collaboration, that he knew from the jumping off point of these women in this world how to thread that needle of subversive but just like a romp of a good time but it's saying a lot about America and
Mhm.
you know and the 1% and narrow-mindedness and greed and everything else, but it's just fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something about I love how big the show is, but it also everything we mentioned, the colors, the absurdity. But the thing is that I love when something can acknowledge something is absurd, but the emotional stakes are incredibly real. Like if you think of, oh, I don't know, Alice and Janney on a beach in a gorgeous dress, commiserating with a whale. I was like, on the surface, that is really absurd, but underneath it, it really taps into truth about loneliness and communicating in a way that she hasn't been able to. And I think that's what I personally latched onto, that it is a show that deals with a lot of things on the surface level, but like the fear of letting go of that surfaceness to dig really in deep is incredibly compelling to me.
I think what, Laura was talking about threading that needle with the writing and with the scope of the production and what we aim to do as producers, but I think the same is true for the level of actors that we have. I think,
Mhm.
it's a certain level of skill to thread a needle in the ways that Kristen Wiig, in the way that Allison does, where they both break your heart
Mhm.
and make you laugh aloud, but keep yes, of course, we acknowledge that they're is an absurdity to the whole thing, and they're a satire to the whole thing, and it's
Mhm.
soapy and fun and this, delicious
Excuse me.
show. But like you said, the issues that we're talking about, be it emotional or political or cultural, are honest and true, and it's in that ability that those brilliant actors have, all of them, the whole cast, to find the truth in those crazy scenarios, that lets us have such fun and still get to say the things that are so meaningful.
Yeah, someone asked me to describe the show to them, and I told them what it was about, and I realized I was, talking for 2 or 3 minutes, and they're like, is it a comedy? Is it a drama? I was like, it's everything. Just you literally laugh, and then you are reflecting within the same 5-minute conversation between these characters. And I personally, as a viewer, I find that way more interesting to watch than sort of relegating something to the binary of sort of what is this, what is that. I think this is a show that really lets you swim in the waters of everything.
First of
Um,
all, can you do all our press for us?
Yeah.
oh
The
yeah, you
most
guys just
beautiful
even need.
description. Oh my God, that is so
Trying to
gorgeous.
write the
Thank you.
production notes for next season.
I
Yeah,
know.
even if you guys just want to pick me up, just DM me. I'll be like, let me tell you.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Thank you.
So, of course, I did want to ask about working with Abe Sylvia before the show um dropped. I had the pleasure of speaking with him. I think my enthusiasm may have frightened him a little bit, but he just seems like such a collaborator who just wants the best for his cast, wants the best for the writing and development of a show. Um, and with like the legions of this is a huge cast, full of such heavy hitters. And I guess I just wanted to know what kind of initial conversations you had with him about this, because I feel like he's a visionary with this thing.
Um, I think the starting point, and Jayme, please jump in, was what does the world look and feel like?
Right.
And who is Maxine? You
Mm,
know, and how can someone, you know, and a woman desperate for the things that women were raised to be desperate for in 1969 make for a modern lead in a show.
mm,
And I think that sort of was a really fun thing to dive into and consider. And, I think the book did that beautifully. There was a real thoughtfulness around her longing to be loved and hold on to her man despite his lack of loyalty or not really seeing her for all that she could be.
mm,
And I think the book also really explored like the woman as the hysteric because she has feelings and doesn't know her place. And so like that as a jumping off point was just an
mm,
amazing thing to do with Abe's talent and wisdom and creativity. And as you said, his vision that I think he's been waiting to explore his whole life, from myriad things he's always loved to the different things he's explored in his own life as an artist, and like how can you go, is that us? Oh, sorry, we're just turning something off. I don't even know how to turn on a computer, so big help. Excuse me.
mm,
So I think he, is learning about the balance as he goes of like, how far can we push it? How far can we go even into the absurd or the farcical or the camp while also keeping it grounded and true? And
mm,
as you described beautifully. And he, along with his writers that are wonderful, are really finding finding that without fear for so many characters.
Yeah.
It is a big show with a lot of stories, especially now with season 1 as the jumping off point. There's so much to explore and discover, and that's been amazing to watch. And we have an incredible group of collaborators, from the producers and of course our showrunner and the writers to, the dream costume designer and production designer you could ever wish for.
Mhm.
And that's before even the cast will
Yeah.
show up to add all that their wisdom. And it's, I think the gift of having a cast at this level is to be open to how much they can bring to it, and I think Abe is, really willing to be open to the fact that he's got extraordinary, iconic people in their own worlds coming to tell a story. And like Carol Burnett, she's been telling stories her entire life.
Mhm.
And so she's going to have a take on how to infuse what's then given like nobody else could, and
Right.
that's really, really beautiful thing to watch as he collaborates with each actor as we start back up, and as he did in the first season. Sorry, I have a tickle, so I might mute while you guys talk for
No,
a second.
you're good.
I think just to add to, your question about what it's like to work with Abe,
Mhm.
given the scope of this show and how big the production is, how big the cast is, it's an hour long. It's a big show.
Yeah.
And Abe is remarkable in that he does everything with this sort of happy warrior demeanor,
Mhm.
sets an incredible tone on the set, greets everyone with a smile. And to have such an immense amount of pressure that you're under every day, because every showrunner does, it's just it's remarkable to watch him handle it all, while
Mhm.
staying, incredibly true to his vision for the show, uh,
Mhm.
but make it a really welcoming and happy place to work. So I think hopefully that's reflected on the screen, because
Yeah.
we really do have a good time.
And just to say, to build that kind of world, the fact that Apple TV Plus, you know, opened their doors to
Mhm.
the period level of design and, cast of thousands goals we all
Yeah.
had.
Yeah.
They've incredible partners in
And to
this.
say that we can shoot that, we were allowed to shoot in LA to give our cast
Mhm.
at home is so rare.
Yeah, I spoke to I had the pleasure of speaking to Alex Friedberg yesterday, and it was sort of just like I was like, I don't mean to sound crazy, but I literally showed her my notebook. I was like, how did you do this? Because it sort of boggled my mind. I don't think of another show. I think it's kind of crazy that it is a show this year where I know it takes place in a real place and I know it takes place in a real time, but it really feels sort of otherworldly stepping back, like Game of Thrones level world building here. Um, I did even just want to make a comment, talking, Laura, about how you said, people react to like a woman having feelings. Like I thought of the show again just this morning when I was just scrolling through Instagram and I came across like a Kamala Harris ad where they're talking about how men say women are crazy. And it's just sort of like, God forbid, it's sort of like this infuriating moniker that people put on not just that, other things on women, and it's sort of just like, it was like, wow, things have not changed from 1969 to 2024. And then it made me think of other collaborations you folks had about like I'm in love with Tiny Beautiful Things. I think that show is so beautiful, and it's sort of like Catherine Hahn's character, everything she did, everyone had an opinion about it. Everyone was not shy about expressing their opinion about it. And that is even echoed in Palm Royale, where the time period and the time constraints are pushing on all of these women that uh, sort of refuses to let them live authentically. That's not a question, just sort of a comment and observation that I had about that.
Love
Um,
it. So true. And a big focus. I mean, certainly for me as an actor, that's a theme that has carried before I even had the authority to or autonomy to get to make decisions in my
mhm,
career. There were things that sort of came to me as an actor, but nothing interests me more than our treatment of each other and the other,
mhm.
and reflecting back in order to see the present,
Yeah.
not the future. I mean, it's incredible. I was saying to someone yesterday that I always believed we would be fighting, as my character Linda says in the first season, so that our daughters would never have to
Mhm.
in 20 years. But as this election is reminding us too, it's like, no, you are fighting for the same things your grandmothers fought for and your mothers fought for and your fathers fought for, and your children will be fighting for these same issues.
Mhm.
Now that's the truth. Like, I think when we were kids, we were like, oh my God, if we win, they'll change all the rules.
Mhm.
And it's like, well, they might for a few years, and then it cycles back to another point of view, a more radical point of view, and then you fight for it all over again. I was like, oh my God, it's cyclic. Like it is doesn't
Mhm.
just stick when we learn how we should be treating each
Right?
other.
Yeah.
It's hopefully it does. But when I was doing some research, I had a meeting with Abe a couple days ago to kind of look at some things to thread into the story for season 2. I was like, Abe, I guess I hadn't really thought about it, but I started doing some research because there's a lot of thematic stuff about Linda and her money and
Mhm.
Maxine's need for money and all of that. And I'm like, isn't it incredible that no woman was allowed to have a credit card? I mean, that is just mind blowing.
Mhm.
In the 70s,
And as we
not
see in,
in like 1930, in the
Yeah.
70s.
in the first season that Maxine uh can't deposit the check at the bank
Yeah.
Mhm.
without her husband. I mean, that's not that long ago.
No, there. I was saying I had like friends that we have friends over every week, and there was like a young guy. He's in his early 20s, and I made like an offhand comment about like, well, women weren't allowed to have bank accounts by themselves. They had to sign everything up with their husband, and their husband controlled everything. And he thought I was joking, and I was like, oh, sweetheart, you please, please, like let's sit down, let's talk, like, well, let's crack a history book, please.
Hey,
Yeah,
big one.
any any of them. um well, I feel like I could talk to you ladies for hours and hours and hours. Thank you so much for your time. um I just have to say, Laura, something about your character that I love, that I noticed in the show. I noticed a lot of the other characters having a TV on when a news program was playing and no one was paying attention to the TV. Like maybe Maxine was getting ready, and so she can kind of hear it, but she may not be focused on it necessarily. And I think, I don't know what made me pick up on this, that like Linda is the person who is looking at the TV and she's absorbing everything, and everyone else, whether they know it or not, they may have their heads in the literal sand. And I think that's a really exciting uh, thing that I latched onto with this, and I sort of saw a lot of not similarities, but I kept thinking about Linda and Maxine and Linda all the time. And I don't know, there's something about those two characters when they inhabit the same space that I was really excited about. Um, that's all.
Well,
Again, another random
I
thought.
was
Good
when I
job.
be there to have fun with Kristen and and get to be part of the party as an actor, because
Yeah.
obviously the primary goal here was as producers, but
Mhm.
that was just, complete bliss.
Yeah.
Not to mention
Well,
Carol and Allison and Ricky, and I mean, just it goes on. Everybody
yeah.
it's a really beautiful family of people, and
Yeah.
we're so grateful that you love it and are teaching us about it. You're saying stuff I'm like, man,
Brilliant, Joey.
I've got to talk to Abe about a few of
I'm
your
I'm just a
work.
big nerd I've watched the show a couple of times fully through, so yeah, big fan.
Thank you
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. I'm really rooting for you guys. I just want you to win all 11 Emmys. So
so much.
thank you. Good
Thank
luck to you, and have a good rest of your day.
thank
Thanks,
you.
Yeah.
Joey.
Okay.
Great to
Bye.
talk to you.